What is up, my friends? It is Saturday night's late night agenda, and I am going to take you guys through the latest newspaper story surrounding Liverpool's apparent transfer window targets for the summer. Now, there is going to be a second video that's going to come out either later on tonight or tomorrow morning, where I'm going to be talking about Liverpool's formation and should we go with a formation change or should we look to move to a formation change next season. But for now, let's stick to the transfer talk, and you know the drill. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I want you to let me know yours in the comment section. Please do drop a like on the video, and of course, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. Right, look, we're going to get stuck into it tonight with a bit of a blast from the past, a bit of a curveball to start off with. And reports coming from Germany have suggested that Sadio Mane has told his teammates that he misses Liverpool. And I guess this will lead to questions from Liverpool fans asking, should we consider bringing Sadio back? For me, I'm going to say no on this one. One of the main reasons for it is that wage that he is on, of course, at Bayern Munich. It's believed that he's on about €425,000 per week, which is about, I don't know, Mohamed Salah money. Let's put it that way. And I don't think we should look to bring him back. I think we had a decision to make at the time whether we tried to keep both of them, one of them, or neither of them. And the club, of course, allowed Sadio Mane to move on to Bayern Munich and kept Mohamed Salah and gave him that new contract. So I think that's where that story should end. I'm aware other people may think differently, but for us, I think it really does need to be a line drawn underneath the previous regime, the previous set of players, and moving on with a fresh new outlook. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give you another blast from the past, but not a blast from the past that played for us, just somebody who we've been linked with before and it's gone very quiet on. So, you may remember the name Florian Neuhaus. That's a name that, according to 90min.com, has come back into Liverpool's shall we say, environment. So they go on to say that Liverpool are huge fans of him, as we know. He's 26 years of age, and there's talk that AC Milan, Napoli, Liverpool, and other clubs are interested in him. Of course, it was also widely reported that he was of huge interest to Bayern Munich, but I don't know if that is any longer the case. So, what are you saying? Do you think there's any truth to this? For me, 26 years of age, that's not really a midfield rebuild. And if we are looking to bring in a midfielder who is that age bracket, I think you know where I'm going with this one, right? Nicolo Barella would be the one that I think makes more sense. Inter Milan are probably in a position in the summer where they will have to sell some star players to free up some money, and that would be more attractive for me as a 26-year-old signing rather than a Florian Neuhaus who, you know, I have to say I haven't watched as much as Barella, but I think if we were really interested in him, that could have been something we did in previous windows. For me, anyway, I would say no to Florian Neuhaus. But then again, ardent or fervent watchers of the Bundesliga would probably tell me that I'm missing a trick here and that this kid could really come and do a job. So that does kind of lead me into what I want to talk about, and that is the midfield rebuild. So I promise you no more talk about a certain young gentleman who Liverpool have ruled themselves out of the race for, and I'm going to stick to my word on that one. But another young man that Liverpool have been linked to is Ryan Gravenberch. And if we are looking for a midfield rebuild, I'm not saying specifically that Gravenberch is a perfect fit, but certainly from the age profile of the player, I would look to be bringing in players who are 19, 20, 21, 22, rather than looking for your 26-year-olds. But one of them, if we have to bring one in, I would take Barella. So let's move on to see what Christian Falk has to say. And he has said that Liverpool have reportedly held a meeting with Ryan Gravenberch's agent. Now, important here is to point out that Bayern Munich don't want to sell the player, and Bayern Munich are saying that Ryan Gravenberch isn't for sale. Hasn't really worked out during his first season at Bayern Munich since his move from Ajax. He was a transfer target for a lot of clubs in Europe, and Bayern won the race for his signature. But just because it hasn't worked out immediately doesn't mean it won't work out. So it will be interesting to see if this is a bit of a game of poker, if Bayern Munich will really be open to selling, or if Ryan Gravenberch won't be available in the summer. Because the last thing we need to do is spend time chasing after a target who actually isn't available. It's one thing chasing after a target and then coming to the conclusion that you ain't got the money for it, but it's another thing if you're going to completely just go after a player that the club have no interest in selling. Now, we aren't the only ones that have been linked with Ryan Gravenberch. I think you'll see Arsenal's name thrown around there a little bit as well. And again, that would make sense for Mikel Arteta to bring in a young midfielder in there. Now, I'd happily have Ryan Gravenberch, but again, I would ask the question, if we really wanted Gravenberch, if he was really somebody that Liverpool Football Club had targeted and decided was a good fit, Why weren't we in for him when he moved to Bayern Munich? Why aren't we in that race? And I know people are going to take to be Craig, he was a Mina Raiola client and all that, but ultimately, if he was the one you wanted, why didn't we go in for him when he could have been gotten on a free transfer rather than having to now pay a transfer fee? And I'm sure he's on a fairly hefty wage at Bayern, so I'm sure he'd want similar if he moved across. So that's worth keeping in mind when we discuss Ryan Gravenberch. Moving on to other targets, well, Brighton are a club that I think we'll all probably take two midfielders from if we could. But Football Insider today have said that Liverpool have made Alexis MacAllister one of their top targets for the summer. They believe a bid of around £60 million would be enough to get him out of Brighton. I don't know anything about the numbers in these transfers because I have not involved in it in any way, shape or form. But to me, of the two Brighton midfielders, I would prefer Caicedo. I understand that maybe McAllister is an easier transfer to go with. His father himself has come out this week and said that his son will move on in the summer. He didn't talk about where he may go to, didn't talk about leagues even, but he did say he expects his son to move on. And I wouldn't say no to Alexis MacAllister, but I do think Moises Caicedo would be a better fit for what we're trying to do, but I'm not going to say no to this man. Now, one other thing we need to keep in mind when we're discussing reinforcements in the summer is that Liverpool will need to add in a couple of homegrown players. So that's why you will see your Mason Mount, your Conor Gallagher's, and your Levi Colwill. Colwill is somebody who, again, Chelsea look like they could be willing to do business with in the summer. They're going to move on some players, obviously, to free up money. I've told you about that in recent weeks. And Colwill is somebody who I think we should be looking at. Again, homegrown, again, Premier League tried and tested, and again, I think a right fit for the profile of what we're trying to do. Now, this will all link into the video that I'm going to record after this, and I spoke to you about at the start, where we'll be talking about formation changes. And if Liverpool are to look to change formation, I would suggest if we're looking to go to something like a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, that we're going to need to bring in two centre-backs, or maybe Klopp will deem that Sepp van den Berg is good enough to be sixth choice, let's say. Because if we're moving to a back three, and again, I don't know if we are or not. Probably we aren't. But if we are, we need to look at those possible alternative centre backs as well. So on this, it's very difficult for any of us now to sit here and make predictions about what Liverpool are going to do in the summer. It's very difficult because we don't know what we're working with financially. We've seen numbers bandied around, but those numbers that were thrown around would have made you-know-who somewhat feasible. So it is really difficult when we now don't know. And I'm glad that we don't know. We shouldn't know as fans or the general public what Liverpool are working with in the transfer window. But I hope that we at least get to see players being chase that makes sense to us, right? So remember when we signed Fabinho, all of us together went, oh yeah, that makes sense. Diogo Jota as a signing, again, we all went, oh yeah, that makes sense. So for me, I just want to see Liverpool linked with players that we are happy with quality-wise, because I think it is entirely believable, feasible, doable that we bring in three midfielders and a centre-back in the summer, and that is enough for us to get back into the top four. I have my own doubts about whether we'll be able to put together a team that is able to challenge for the Premier League title. But I tell you what, I did watch Jurgen Klopp's press conference yesterday, and I did watch the embargoed section as well. And I don't think that Jurgen Klopp was in any way tetchy towards the reporters in the latter part. I thought that you've seen a man that was somewhat frustrated, yes, but a man that knows what he has to work with and is just going to do the job. And you know what? He won me around a little bit. I'm not going to hide my devastation at being ruled out of you-know-who, but ultimately, the manager now has a job to do, and if we've definitely moved on, then he has to go out and bring in the three players that he thinks can do the job. And I want to get behind him, and I want to believe that he can do it. So let's see what the summer window has in store. As always, we'll keep bringing you guys the latest news stories and transfer topics around the club, as well as trying to mix it in with a few more statistically driven videos and stuff like that as well. So again, want to know your thoughts in the comment section. If you were to hazard a guess at three midfielders that you think are achievable and would fit what Jurgen Klopp is trying to do, love you to let me know in the comment section below. So look, that's it for me today. But I will record the formation video coming up soon as well. Thank you for your time as always. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Don't forget you can join us for the watch along of the Leeds United game from about 7 p.m. on Monday over in the Anfield Agenda Twitch channel. You will find the link to that in the description of this video. Have yourselves a cracking weekend, my friends. Much love.